saying this for years, unless you're my mom, and actually I will, unless you're my mom, and my mom only, keep my name out of your mouth. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Running Rants with Helen. As always, I'm Helen, and this is where I rant and talk about whatever I want. And I guess just a little update of where I am, what's going on. I am going to run up Castle Peak and then over to Basin and doing a little loop. I think I'm gonna run for like 2.5 hours. Obviously Jacob's here. He's gonna join me, at least for the castle part, I hope. So as you guys know, I ran Broken Arrow a few weeks ago, and I feel like there's always like pre-race interviews or prediction things where like those races are what people are talking about within trail running media. And I noticed this especially around races, but people get their facts so wrong, and I guess like don't look things up and then still speak on it like they 100% know about what they're talking about. And I think sometimes as an athlete, it's a little frustrating. I think especially when it is like things that you could so very easily just like look up within 15 seconds. And I think part of this could be that people in the media space get really excited about these races, and they're generally really excited and enthusiastic about the sport. But then I personally think like just don't do their due diligence on researching topics. And I just think it's okay to be excited and to just chit chat, but also then like maybe don't do a whole preview episode or you don't know what you're talking about. This also kind of happens like generally around other races. I will give specific examples and play the recordings from these podcasts though, so I don't misquote either the misquotes or the information, even though that would be kind of funny if I then got it wrong. So without further ado, let me play for you exactly what I'm talking about.
Mino Faukner's won this race twice. Jennifer Lichtner's won this race twice. Danny Marino is a former 23K champion from back in 2018. Ashley Brasovin has been on the 23K, Brasovin, I got to pronounce that name better. Sorry about that, Ashley. Has been on the 23K podium.
So that was James and his guest from the Steep Stuff pod. And yeah, I guess I'll just call people out fully. But if you happen to look at Ultra Sign Up, like you should maybe, you would see that, and this was obviously before Broken Arrow, I have actually only won that race one time. Jen, up until 2 weeks ago, had also only won that race one time. So I just feel like that one is a really easy one to just get right. And I guess I have to say it too, but like on the SubHub podcast, like MK also said that I won twice. I didn't. I think like because I know her, I think part of it was just like in 2021 I got second, and it really felt like I won, even though I got beat by Allie Mack by like 20 minutes, maybe 30, I don't know, it was a lot. But I remember it was a big deal because that was like the first bigger race I had run, and so maybe MK just feels like I had won even though I didn't. And that's like, then I don't know if maybe James had listened to that and then was like, oh well, Helen won twice, and then just repeated it, because then Dylan Bowman also said in like my post-race interview with Danny and Jen, he was like, yeah, Helen won twice. And I had to correct him. I said, no, I didn't win twice. I guess it's nice that everyone thinks that. I guess cool, I'm getting credit for winning a race that I didn't, but once again, very easy fact to look up. The other thing in that I'm just gonna say that kind of bothers me is he pronounced all of our names wrong. It wasn't just Ashley's. Every single one of us said our names wrong. Once again, that one's like not that big of a deal, but if you're gonna correct yourself on one of the names, the other three you just said were also wrong. Yeah, I guess like I said, I'm not just trying to be such a hater, and I understand that like media in the sport is important, but I also think it's kind of the responsibility of the podcast host to at least maybe research things a little bit. I have one more clip to play from that same episode.
Fifth, I have Helen Mino Faukner. Again, two-time winner, has been here before. She's just someone that like I just like can't see her not being on a US team. She's always there. She's always up there. She's a winner. If you look at her ultra sign up, it's pretty impressive. And I believe that she's coached by the same coach as what's her name? As MK. I believe they share the same coach.
What the hell's that guy's name? He's a famous
Yeah,
coach.
I always blank out of his name.
Yeah. He's just a Cirque Series race. I forget. All right,
Oh,
keep.
cool.
Sorry.
Okay, so same thing. He was like, I looked at her ultra sign up, so then you would know I've only won that race once. Second thing is, so with how the world's qualifying thing worked is it's top 3 and no spots roll down. If we all said no, then it would be 6 resume spots. And I just think if you're gonna preview a race and like talk about who's making the world's team, you should know how it works, because it is an insane thing to say. Like, I'm putting Helen in 5th, but I don't see her not making the world's team, because if you put me in 5th, then I wouldn't make the world's team. So I think understanding how the race works is important if you're going to do a preview episode. This part is like pretty irrelevant, but I'll still say it. MK and I do have the same coach. He's not famous. He's run, not one, maybe a few Cirque Series races. So I don't really know where they were getting confused with that, but yeah, Rick isn't famous yet. Maybe someday, but he's just a guy. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, that one kind of bothered me, because I'm like, yeah, I don't know another way to put this. It's like 2 men are just talking about something that they apparently know nothing about, and they're saying it like with such confidence, and I just feel like it continues to like spread things that aren't true. And I think that's just something that I've noticed about podcasts, is like I obviously don't always know what they're talking about that much, but when like in the few times that I have, I'm like, well, I don't think any of that's really right. Yeah, so I feel like that's just kind of annoying. I think honestly, as like a person in the media, you do have somewhat of a responsibility to try to be at least a little factually correct, or at least kind of know what you're talking about. Yeah, I guess that's like obviously Broken Arrow is what kind of prompted me to talk about this, but it has happened before, and so I have one more clip.
Apparently it is, and then you go and smash the golden ticket race and then just straight up decline it. Like, what a flex. But
took the ticket. I think she took the thing, the actual physical ticket.
That seems like,
or did they get it back? I don't know.
You can't, if you take the golden ticket home, you're running Western states. That's my take. Like you can't win.
A photo of her off the premise with the ticket.
I thought so too. And it's like you can't. That's not yours. It's it's Caitlin Fielder and Nancy Jang's. Like they are the ones who accepted the golden tickets. Like like even if you take it and you're like, well, I'm going to think about it. You get to take the golden ticket home. But like, I think Western states should then email Helen a return label.
So on that one, like, I very much so agree. That was like Finn and Brett on the Single Track podcast, and that was obviously talking about me from Tarawera, and I totally agree. That wasn't my ticket to take home, hence why I didn't take it home. I did have it for less than 24 hours because I didn't deny it when it was offered to me. I slept on it, and then I messaged Nancy and I said, hey, if I don't take the golden ticket, would you run states? And she said, yeah, I would. And I said, okay, great. I'll be at awards. I'll bring the ticket back in the morning because I agree. It's not mine. I will give it to Finn. He did say, I don't know. And they were correct. They did see a photo or a video of me leaving with the ticket. I brought it back in less than 24 hours. So once again, I'm just here. I guess this is an episode of, hi, I'm just here to set the record straight on podcasts and things that people have said about me. Because one more, I didn't record this one because I will also give credit to Second Nature and Spencer from Pit Viper, because when this was misspoken, I called them out on it, and I actually did get that part of the podcast removed because, hopefully I don't misquote this, but generally, Spencer, VP of brand at Pit Viper, Aaron, Dylan and Aaron have a podcast where they talk about like a little bit more like the business and media side of trail running. They had Spencer on. They were asking about like athletes that they support, and Dylan asked if they financially, like Pit Viper, financially supports me and MK, and Spencer said, oh yeah, for sure, we definitely pay them, which is not true. I have received approximately $0 from that company. I do love the glasses. As you guys know, I have them. I wear them, but I've only been seeded product. And so, yeah, I commented on the YouTube and I said, wow, what a crazy way to find out I have a paid contract with Pit Viper. Can't wait to get my check. Bummer, never got a check. Spencer did apologize, and we're totally good. We had a whole conversation about it, and it's not like anything personal, but I think this just goes back. I've been saying this for years. Unless you're my mom, and actually I will, no, unless you're my mom, and my mom only, keep my name out of your mouth. So, yeah, I guess this turned into more of, that's the gist of it in this running rant. But here to set the record straight that all the misinformation on my name out there in the form of men talking about me on podcasts. But also I hope you guys know, like, I'm obviously saying this like playfully. I'm not mad at anyone for getting things wrong. Like, I think that we can give people grace in those situations. I just think it's funny that, yeah, it just seems to keep happening. And people are talking about things that they don't know what they're talking about. But then we all hear it And then we're like, yes. Because I feel like I've done that with podcasts. Like, I say generally I don't listen to that many trail running podcasts. I probably listen to single track the most. But I feel like sometimes I hear it and I'm like, okay, cool, like I learned that. But maybe sometimes you didn't learn that.
What's the point of this rant? Like, what? I don't think you're just doing this to complain. Like, what do you hope people get from this?
I think part of it is correcting the information that's out there about me that's not true. Maybe there's more, I don't know. And I think the second point is just like, maybe sometimes if you're listening to podcasts, and I'm sure like I've misspoken or like said something that isn't true in these. But I think that's also why I generally just try to talk about my own personal experiences, because then I can't get facts wrong really, because that's my perception of my reality. But I think it's just like, don't like take podcasts as gospel, because people get things wrong a lot and that's okay. And I think the other thing is like, if any of you podcasters happen to be listening to this, like maybe just take a tiny bit of time to like a little bit more deeply understand what you're talking about, or like ask questions. Or I understand like there's a lot of information to remember, especially in like race previews. Like maybe write down some notes. But also, what do I know? I'm not a podcaster. So maybe don't listen to me, I don't know.
Okay.
I think that's the point of this.
So one of your favorite podcasts is literally called Normal Gossip. And I think like with podcasting, there's the entertainment factor and there's the journalistic side of it. And I think you're expressing your frustration with like poor journalism.
Yeah.
On the other hand, like a lot of these podcasts are entertaining because it's conversational. Yeah, like a lot of these podcasts are made up of people who are just in love with the sport and not necessarily trained journalists, and they're not fact checking. So like how do you balance having a fun, lighthearted conversation where you're not kind of looking over your shoulder and also not like spreading misinformation? Most of the time I think it's harmless, but like you definitely could say something that's not true, like with the pit viper situation.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily a harmless miss.
No, that one was not harmless. But I think if you're just doing it for entertainment, don't do a race preview. I think that there are plenty of other podcasts that are like willing to do the research and be a little bit more fact-based, and leave that to them. And you can stick with like your entertainment one. Also, I will say, like I've listened to the Boulder Boys, and I feel like that is not informational or like filled with facts, and I don't know if they do race previews, but I'm not sure if I would listen to it. But I think they do a good job of like, yeah, it is just entertainment. They literally say, don't quote us on this, but for literally everything. And so I feel like even just putting in a thing like that, then like when they do get something wrong, they kind of have like an insurance policy on it already. And I also like don't think that they're claiming to like, I don't know, I've talked to Seth. Sometimes it feels like he doesn't know anyone in this sport, which is kind of funny. But also then like, yeah, why would he be doing a race preview? So
Okay, and then I guess on that topic, like talk about, like, if you are going to have a journalistic perspective on races or race previews or athletes, like, how do you avoid that telephone effect of like getting misinformation from one podcast spread to another and another and another?
Well, I think part of it as a podcaster, like probably doing your own research instead of just listening to someone else's podcast. Especially for race results, Ultra Sign Up is very easy to use. I use it often, and you can just like write down notes. Like I said though, once again, I'm not a podcaster. I don't know if I should be giving this advice, but I think this is just like something that I've recently been frustrated by. Yeah, or if you're like talking about someone specifically, I understand for everything you say, you might not have time to like reach out to the person you're talking about. But I think like sometimes it could be helpful, especially if you're talking about that person a lot. I feel like it is also hard though, like, I don't know, these podcasters probably have like thousands of hours, probably, of like at least hundreds of hours of like them talking, and like I'm sure that there are mistakes, but there probably aren't that many in the whole scheme of things, I would like to hope. And the only reason why I know these things aren't true is because they're literally about me. This has been another episode of Running Rants with Helen. If anyone has ever stated incorrect things about you on a podcast, comment below. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.